Most people don't panic because the situation is unbearable. They panic because they secretly believed it shouldn't be happening to them. Pressure doesn't break us as often as it reveals the fragile story we were living inside. Here is the promise. In the next few minutes, you will see why truly calm people rarely panic under pressure. Not because they are colder, stronger, or luckier, but because they have trained a different relationship with fear, control, and meaning. You will leave with a way to stand inside stress without being swallowed by it, and with a practical method to act clearly when your body wants to flee. The hard truth is that panic is not only a feeling, it is a judgment. It is the mind declaring in an instant, "This must not be." And once the mind declares that, the body obeys with chaos. Calm people are not immune to the surge of adrenaline. They simply refuse to add a second fire to the first one. They do not punish themselves for being human. Consider what the Stoics understood without romanticism. You do not control what happens, but you do control the meaning you assign to what happens. This is not a slogan. It is the thin line between a storm that passes through you and a storm that becomes you. Pressure arrives like weather. Panic arrives like interpretation. Think of a modern scene, an unexpected message from your boss asking for an urgent meeting, or a call that begins with the phrase, "We need to talk." In less than a second, your mind drafts an entire tragedy. You lose the job, you disappoint everyone, you fall behind in life. Yet the only fact is a meeting, a sentence, a moment waiting to be understood. Calm people feel the same initial jolt, but then they pause long enough to separate fact from fiction. The conceptual shift is this. They do not calm themselves by insisting everything will be fine. They calm themselves by accepting that it might not be, and that they can still remain intact. The hard truth is that many of us use anxiety as a form of preparation, as if suffering early will somehow purchase safety later. But panic is not preparation. Panic is the mind rehearsing helplessness. Under pressure, calm people don't scramble for certainty, they scramble for clarity. And clarity begins with a boundary. What is mine to govern and what is not? Stoicism, at its best, does not teach indifference, it teaches precision. It asks you to aim your effort where effort can actually land. This is why calm looks almost like restraint. Not because the person cares less, but because they refuse to waste their care. They do not try to control the entire outcome, they control the next honest action. Picture a driver whose car suddenly skids on ice. The panicked driver overcorrects, fighting the road, demanding traction that is not available. The calm driver does something counterintuitive. They loosen their grip, align with the physics, and make smaller, wiser adjustments. The reversal here is uncomfortable. Sometimes you regain control by gripping less, not more. The world does not reward desperation with stability. It rewards steadiness with options. The hard truth is that pressure exposes what you worship. If you worship approval, pressure becomes humiliation. If you worship comfort, pressure becomes unbearable. If you worship being right, pressure becomes a threat to your identity. Calm people have not eliminated desire, but they have examined it. They have asked, often painfully, what is worth being shaken for? This is where philosophy stops being an idea and becomes a life. Marcus Aurelius wrote as a man surrounded by power and plague, not as a spectator of calm. The Stoic practice is not to pretend you are above fear, but to meet fear without surrendering your character. Calm is not the absence of trembling. It is the decision not to be ruled by the tremble. A practical example. Someone criticizes you publicly in a meeting. Your heart tightens, heat rises in your face. The old reflex says, defend yourself immediately or you will lose status. The calm person pauses, not theatrically, not to appear superior, but because they understand a brutal fact. The first response is rarely the wisest response. They ask, silently, what is being asked of me right now? A performance or a principle? The shift is that they value dignity over dominance, and because of that, they choose their words with a strange freedom. The hard truth is that most panic is a fight with time. We fear the next minute, the next hour, the next consequence. We try to leap over the present because the present feels too small to hold the future. Calm people do the opposite. They shrink the battlefield. They bring the mind back to one breath, one sentence, one step. They are not denying reality. They are refusing to carry tomorrow's weight with today's arms. Deep reflection makes this clearer. The present is not a tiny slice of life. It is the only place where life is actually lived. Pressure becomes unbearable when you try to live 10 moments at once. Stoic calm is the discipline of living one moment fully, then the next, with no unnecessary additions. This is why calm people seem grounded. Their attention is not scattered across imagined disasters. It is invested where their influence still exists. A modern life example. You are about to speak in public, and your mind begins predicting failure. Calm people do something quietly radical. They allow the fear to be there without treating it as a verdict. They may even name it. Fear, embarrassment, the desire to be liked, then return to the task. Their reversal is simple and profound. They do not demand confidence before action. They allow action to create its own confidence. If this way of thinking resonates, subscribe to the channel for more calm, practical philosophy, and leave a thoughtful comment about a moment when pressure taught you something true about yourself. Not a quote, an honest lesson. Now the journey deepens, because calm under pressure is not only about technique, it is about identity. The hard truth is that many people panic because they believe their worth is on trial. Under pressure, they are not merely trying to succeed, they are trying to prove they deserve to exist without shame. That is why the smallest failure can feel like a collapse of the self. Calm people have separated performance from personhood. They still want to do well, but their inner foundation does not depend on the outcome. This is where the Stoic idea of inner freedom becomes more than a phrase. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is not being dragged by every impulse, every fear, every imagined audience. The calm person has practiced becoming ungovernable from within, not arrogant, not detached, ungovernable. They have placed their dignity in the one domain that cannot be taken by force. The choice of how to meet what comes. Consider an example that many recognize. You work hard on something and it fails. The panicked mind says, "This failure is me." The calm mind says, "This failure is information." One collapses into self-attack, the other turns toward learning. The reversal is sharp. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is often the cost of being honest about your limits. Calm people do not romanticize failure, but they refuse to make it a personal apocalypse. The hard truth is that pain is unavoidable, but the extra suffering is often optional. Under pressure, we suffer once from the event, and then again from the story we tell about the event. The Stoics did not deny pain. They denied the necessity of adding despair to it. They trained the mind to stop decorating difficulty with catastrophe. Deep reflection. Anxiety is frequently a demand for guarantees. Promise me I will not lose. Promise me I will not be rejected. Promise me I will not be hurt. But life does not sign such contracts. Calm people have made peace with uncertainty, not because they like it, but because they have seen that fighting uncertainty only multiplies it. They have learned to be loyal to their principles, not to their predictions. A practical example. A parent sits in a hospital waiting room. A student waits for an exam result. An entrepreneur watches the last funds drain. Calm, in such moments, is not a posture. It is a moral choice. The calm person does not say, "I feel nothing." They say, "I will not abandon myself." They breathe. They listen. They ask better questions. They take the next right action, however small. The conceptual shift is this. Calm is not the luxury you earn after things improve. Calm is what allows you to meet things as they are. The hard truth is that many people confuse calm with passivity. But calm is often the most active state a human being can reach. It is the mind refusing to waste energy on what cannot be changed so that it can apply full force to what can. In Stoic terms, calm is disciplined attention. It is the ability to aim your soul. Deep reflection. There is a quiet dignity in accepting your portion. Not resignation, but realism. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate. Not because fate is pleasant, but because fighting reality is a form of bondage. When you stop arguing with what is already true, you recover enormous strength. You become capable of grief without collapse, effort without frenzy, and courage without theatrics. A modern example. Someone cuts you off in traffic, or you receive a rude message online. The old you might spend an hour in agitation, replaying the insult, composing imaginary speeches. The calm person notices the temptation to escalate and chooses not to. Not because the insult was acceptable, but because their peace is not a public resource that strangers can consume at will. The reversal is subtle. Sometimes strength is the refusal to respond at the level of the provocation. The hard truth is that calm people have rehearsed pressure before it arrives. Not by worrying, but by practicing. They have trained their minds the way an athlete trains a body. Small repetitions, daily. They have practiced pausing before reacting. They have practiced seeing events as neutral until judged. They have practiced asking, what does this moment require of my character? This is not mysticism. It is discipline. Deep reflection. Under pressure, you do not rise to the level of your hopes. You fall to the level of your training. Calm is not a personality trait. It is a cultivated relationship with reality. And the more you cultivate it, the less pressure feels like a hostile invasion, and the more it feels like a clear invitation to become deliberate. A final practical image. Imagine the moment before you send an important message, before you walk into a difficult conversation, before you make the decision you have avoided. Your chest tightens, your mind seeks escape. Calm does not mean you remove the tightness. Calm means you stop negotiating with it. You let the body be loud while the mind stays clear. You do what you can, you accept what you cannot, and you refuse to betray your own values to buy temporary relief. Pressure will keep coming because life keeps asking something of us. The question is not whether you will feel fear. The question is whether fear will become your ruler or your messenger. And when the next moment arrives, sharp, unfair, uninvited, remember this. The calm person is not the one who never shakes, but the one who refuses to let the shaking decide.